Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome, everybody, to the 184th edition of Speaking of Zane. 184 times we have done Speaking of Zane. That's coming up on the 200 episode mark. How about that? In about 15 weeks or so, sometime over the summer. March the 20th, 2022. Hope everyone is doing well. Good to have you all in there for sure. Let's see, in fact, who we've got in there. Let's see. First to jump in was Ken. Hey, Ken. And then my buddy Daryl. Hey, Daryl. Matt Aaron. Matt's wanting to know how everybody's brackets are doing. Well, I finally got around to filling out a bracket, and I've been tracking it. I watched, what games did I watch today? Illinois, and then I just watched the Duke game. So, yeah, enjoy this time of year for college basketball. There's my Aunt Cindy. She's watching tonight from over there in Alabama. Hey, Aunt Cindy. And there's my cousin Toby, who was up here in Atlanta last couple of days for the NASCAR race, I believe, at least the truck race. Lori's in there. I see her join. Lori just got home. Lori has been out all day. She left early this morning and planned, coordinated, and hosted a baby shower for Everett's father and his wife. They have twins coming. So Lori helped with the shower there, got everything coordinated and executed, and took her all day. And but I think she had a good time with it, and they're expecting babies. I think a boy and a girl. I think it's one of each. So crazy. His name is Enoch, and her name is Hannah. All right, let's see. Jim Miller's in there. Hey, Jimbo. Colin Crim's in there. Hey, Colin from Albuquerque. There's my Aunt Mary from down in the Ocilla area. My Aunt Paula from down near Tampa. All right. Good stuff. Glad to have you guys all in here. Sure is. Don't forget, if you ever miss an episode of Speaking of Zane, you can always watch the recording. Probably the easiest way is on YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel, Guy McDonald, and you can watch the recording. There's Katie Aaron. Hey, Katie, up in Michigan. All right, good crowd assembled today. What do we got going on? Wow, my goodness, we've had an eventful week, no doubt. Well, we had an eventful day on Friday, for sure. You guys have seen a little bit of my posting about it, but I haven't really told the story. And you guys know I'm a big poster. I post everything, including the things I eat. And I've kind of resisted to post about this unique experience that I had Friday, out of respect for the family that was involved. I didn't want to breach any protocol there, but yeah, we see you, Lori. Test. Lori says test. Lori, you're there. I see you. I was just talking about you just walking in the door. I mean, literally 5 minutes before Speaking of Zane, Lori walked in the door, and she's had a long day. But I was talking about Friday. So we live in a cul-de-sac here, and there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses here in this cul-de-sac at the end of the subdivision. And so Friday, pretty routine Friday for me. Lori had gone out, and yeah, they're all in there, Lori. Everybody, I see everybody's posts and everything in there. You might want to, maybe you can disconnect and reconnect. But so anyway, Lori was out doing some errands and meeting with a couple of friends for lunch. And I was here at the house doing my normal Friday work routine, which consists of some regularly scheduled meetings that I attend and my team attends. And I guess about 11 or so, somewhere between 11 and 11:15, we had a lightning strike. Though it was the closest lightning strike that I've ever experienced, and just incredible. And the power flickered but didn't go out. The internet went out, and so that halted my work. And so it got my attention, of course, because I make a living from home via the internet these days. So without that, I'm like, oh man, I'm going to have to retreat here and go to my backup plan until cable comes back. But that lightning strike hit so close that, I left my office here and went and looked out the windows and went downstairs, looked out back to see if any trees had been hit. We've got pine trees, all 100-foot pine trees all along the back side of us here. And I thought surely that lightning strike must have hit one of those trees, but I didn't see anything, and power was still on. So came back in the office and started back to work. And then I guess maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes goes by, and I hear somebody yelling outside, and it's raining. It's a cool day. It's in the 40s, and it's just raining. And so it's kind of miserable out and dreary. And I hear some yelling outside. I'm like, what? Who's yelling out there at 11:15 in the morning? And I hear a couple of bad words. And I thought, man, what's going on? Somebody's getting in a ruckus out there. So I go to the edge of my office here where I can see out the front, out into the front, the driveway and all. And I saw the two boys next door and the lady that lives next to them, Megan. And I think, what are they? They seem a little bit frantic. I go, what the heck are they doing out there? So I said, well, let me run downstairs. So I went downstairs. And I'm looking out the front door, and the boys just look tore up. And I'm like, and the one boy's in his underwear. And I'm like, what do they got going on out here? And so I ran out there, and it turns out their house was struck by the lightning. And the boys, it took a little while, I guess, from when the lightning struck for the fire to manifest itself, and then the resulting smoke. And then eventually the boys recognized the smoke, and they got out of the house, and then that's when that's the yelling and everything that I heard. And then I thought, oh no. So I ran across the yard. They're just 10 yards away from us, and ran across the yard. I said, what's going on? What's going on? And Megan had the boys, and she really didn't know what to do. And so I asked them, okay, where's the fire? Where's the fire? And I said, who else is in the house? Because it's 3 boys and 3 dogs and 2 parents, and I only see 2 boys. And I'm like, okay, let me get a handle on what's going on here. And the boys are frantic. I mean, distraught, like when you're in a situation and you're not really rationally thinking. And so I'm asking the boys, is everybody out? Is everybody out? No, yes, yes. And I can't get a straight answer. And I'm like, I see 2 dogs, or see 1 dog. They're frantic about the dogs. There's 3 dogs, and one of them's in the yard, and he's the 1 dog's wanting to go back in the house, and they can't find the other 2 dogs. And the 1 dog, I saw him up the street. I said, there's the other dog. So they got him to Megan, and the others got the other dog to come back. And then the one guy says, my dog's still in there. My dog's still in there. And he was trying to go back in the house. And I said, listen, don't go back in the house. I said, are you sure that nobody else is in the house? Because his dad's Jeep was in the driveway. And I'm like, usually the dad takes his Jeep and the mom takes her Ford. And during a work day, they're in different vehicles. And I'm like, are you sure your dad's not in there? Is your dad not in there? Where's your mom at? Where's your mom at? I think they're together and this and that. So, and they're so incoherent. It's really hard to ascertain what the truth is. And the boys say, I said, where's the fire? Where's the fire? Because I was going to go in and find the dog. And he says, in the air conditioner. It's in the air conditioner. And I'm thinking, did the fire hit there? But turns out what he really meant, and this is the whole fog of war thing, is that the smoke was coming through the vents. I mean, it wasn't that the fire that was his answer. The smoke was coming to the vents. So to him, it was the air conditioner. And I could see the 2 air conditioning units outside. Neither one of them had any damage to them. And so anyway, I'm the one boy in his underwear goes running around the back of the house. I'm like, where are you going? And so I followed him around the back of the house, and and I said, listen, you need to go back out in the front, because when the fire department gets here, this is all before the fire department got there. And I asked Megan, I said, has 911 been called? Okay, yes. Okay, I don't have to worry about that. And then the next thing was, I'm going to go into the house and find the dog. And it didn't really look that bad yet. But when I got in that house, I mean, I didn't get 10, 12 feet in the house and I was blind. I mean, I couldn't see anything. And I'm like, well, this ain't happening. And I came back out, and then that's when the kid ran around the backside. So I ran around after him. I said, listen, we can't go back in there now, but you need to get back out front so the fire department knows everyone's accounted for. And when they get here, we want to be able to tell them, we know where everyone is, and we know the dog's in the house, or we think that there's one still in the house. Anyway, so got him back out front, and raining, cold, in his underwear. Megan got him some clothes. I got him a jacket. While we're waiting on the fire department to get there. And this is great. When things like this happen, they go so fast, but it seemed like it took so long for the fire department to get there. We're seeing smoke just continue to billow, and there's nothing you can do. Anyway, so the fire department finally got there, and then I told them, I said, listen, everybody's accounted for except for 1 dog, and those are the 2 boys. Nobody else is in the house except for a dog. And so they said, okay. And then so they I tell you what, watching from start to finish, watching them execute on a house fire gave me a whole new respect for firefighters because they showed up and they, I mean, they executed like they had done this 1,000 times, and that's probably because they have done it 1,000 times, at least in practice, and that's why you practice, what you're going to do in real life. And man, to watch them get on the scene and the way that it was like a well-oiled machine. There was no anything random about it. Everything was flawlessly and purposefully executed from the littlest thing to, you know, um, getting the hoses out, getting the hoses connected, who's going to go, getting the masks on, having the guys on the outside, having the tools, and finally after they get on the scene, they just do their thing like they've probably done 1,000 times in practice, and they go into the house. Two of them go in the front of the house, and they're pumping water for, a couple would come out and a couple more would go in. Then they would go through this routine where the two that just came out, they'd get down on their knees on the lawn. Two other firefighters would replace their tanks. Boom, boom. I mean, it was like clockwork. I mean, and then the other two would come out. Those two would go back in, and it was just this perfect ballet of execution, and nobody stumbling on anyone. Everybody knew exactly where they were, where they needed to be, and what they were doing. It was just incredible to see. And anyway, so it was probably 40 minutes into this whole thing, or 10 minutes with just me, 10 to 15 minutes with just me and the boys, and then another 40 minutes, I think, or so after the firefighters began, before they found the dog. So they find the dog, and it's like one guy brings a dog out and he yells, "Got a dog," and the rest of them spring into action. Three of them bring this kit over to the dog. They put a mask on him. They get him laid out. It's like they had rehearsed this thing 1,000 times. No ambiguity, no nothing. Boom, they started to work on this dog. And I thought, and the boys are these boys are in their late teens. The third boy wasn't home. He's a Georgia Southern student, and he's down at school. So it was only the two. But they see their dog limp, and this firefighter's arms come out, and they laid him out, like I said, and got him done. By now, the parents, Mike and April, showed up. So they had got a hold of them. They made it to the house, and they were shocked. They were in shock, basically, when they got there to see their house on fire. And they saw their boys, and they connected with their boys real quick. And then the next thing, they turned to their dog, who I've come to find out is called Deke. And you can tell they're just distraught. The boys are like, really, if you've ever seen someone that's distraught, you know what I'm talking about. But so when Mike and April got there, hang on, Katie, that's the crescendo of my story. But when Mike and April got there, you could tell that, they were crying and just in shock of what is going on. And then now they see Deke laying in the front yard. It's still raining. It's freaking cold. And, they're kind of afraid to approach. And then they eventually get over there where the firefighters are, and they're working on the dog. And they lean down there, and it must have been about another 10 minutes before, with the mask on the dog, that you could see the dog's diaphragm moving, and then an occasional twitch. His ear would twitch. That dog was in that house an hour in the smoke, and those firefighters revived him, saved his life. It was just the most incredible thing I've ever witnessed. And it was raining. It was cold. The dog was laying out there. They're still fighting the fire, and I'm like, my goodness. So I took a blanket over there, and I covered the dog up with the blanket, and at least, the rain wasn't falling directly on him. And then April called I'm there with Mike and the dog and one of the sons, and April calls the vet and says, "Hey," tells the whole story to the vet so they could prepare. And then it came time to transport the dog, and Mike couldn't pick the dog up because he's got a sore hand. So I picked the dog up and put the dog in the back of their Jeep with he had a tank, oxygen tank that they sent with him that he was breathing. And then April took him to the vet. And I've since found out today from the good friends that they're staying with, lady called Melinda. Lori talked to her earlier today. But I found out that he's still under the care of the vet, and there's still some concern, and he's still on the oxygen, and sounded like there's a process that occurs to wean him off that oxygen, and they were supposed to be trying to do that to see if his lungs would function on his own. So it's not, he's not out of the woods, but it's just amazing to me that dog was in there for an hour. And I mean, I was in there I was just in there for a couple of minutes, and I was like, no, I can't see anything, first of all, and I can't hold my breath that long. So I can't imagine that dog being in there for so long. But the kid couldn't tell me where he was at. Do you know where the dog, somebody could have made a mad dash to wherever, but nobody knew, 3-level house, and no, you don't know where to go searching. But anyway, so man, it took all day. These firefighters are so professional. They have a sequence for everything. The captains, showed up. They did inspect. They did the QA, quality assurance, quality control, made sure everything was taken care of. All this was done. Everything was done according to the proper protocol. And then to see the firefighters, put everything away and clean everything and put it all, boom, get ready for the next thing. I mean, there were 3, well, let me show you a picture. There were 3 tankers, and there must have been 20 firefighters on the scene, and then their captains and chiefs or whatever showed up to make sure everything was okay. Let me show you a couple pictures I got here. I have not shared any of these pictures yet, and I didn't want to share any of the photos I took online in case the ward, and that's not what the wards wanted to happen. And but I can show you on here. Let me share, just so you can see the lightning strike. Let's see if I can find, yeah. So there were no visible. There we go. Let me. Okay, I think when I take my face off there, there's no audio. Give me one more audio check, Ken. Let's see if you got me now. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Okay. All right. So I'll have to remember that. So as long as I share it and you can still see my little face there. Okay. What I was saying is there was no visible lightning strike, and normally you would think the roof line or the chimney, and all the houses out here have chimneys. But there was nothing there, and like I was saying, there was no fire on that upper level. No visible fire, nothing on the upper level, and I could see the smoke coming up like out from the basement, and it made sense. I mean, if it had happened upstairs in the attic, then I could have got in the house a little farther. But by the time I got over there and got inside, it was just smoke was coming up from the basement. So that whole first level was just crazy. Um, so so what happened was, well, what the fire chief told me, he says, yeah, normally if something happens like that and it doesn't strike the house, all it has to do is strike either a tree near the house or even the ground, and the surge can travel under the ground. And it was wet, the ground saturated. He says it'll travel to the closest thing, right? And it went in through their electrical, and in the basement is back behind all of that circuitry and everything is where the fire was. And so the that's why there was no visible. In fact, if you look at the house, even right now, the external structure is all intact. But I'm told by the lady I was talking about that Lori spoke with that the inside is just it's not, and the fire department declared it not livable. So they're staying with the LaRocas down the street, who they're friends with, and until they can, evidently they're going to try to find a rental house till they get this whole thing sorted out with insurance. But it just in 1 minute your whole life changes, for sure. It certainly makes you revisit your priorities and stuff. Let's see, Lori says, yeah, exactly. They're just still in the state of trying to figure out. Can you imagine? They stayed at their friend's house, but I mean, they weren't home. The mom and dad. I told you the boys came out in their underwear. They have nothing. So they get to their friend's house to stay the night. They get up the next morning. They have no toothbrush. They have no clothes. They have absolutely nothing. They got all three cars were, one car was gone. Two were in the driveway. No damage there. But yeah, so you're right, Lori. I mean, they're just totally still. I mean, can you imagine what they must be thinking? But yeah, it could be a year, I would imagine, depending on how much structural. But when they were in there, man, they were in there for a long time. They sprayed a lot of water in that house, and they had axes and hatchets and all that in there. They were beating the crap out of something in there. I could hear it. We're only 10 yards away. Here, let me show you the other vantage point here. There they are right there from our porch. This was. Well, this had to be after the firefighters got there, because I had come back to the house to get out of the way. And the boys were over on the other side at Megan's house. And this is before, so I had retreated back to the porch after I told the firefighters everything I knew, so I could be out of the way. And I snapped a couple of pics, and then after the mom and dad got there, I went back over and everything like I told you. But yeah, real close here. I mean, it could have easily, just as easily been our place. But yeah, just crazy for sure. Let me see what else I got here. That's out my office window looking out front. So there's the two main trucks they had, and a couple more up the street there. But I mean, the way that they pulled up on the scene, the way that they went about their business was just absolutely perfection. I had never seen from start to finish something like that. It was like, in the military, if you go on a mission and you execute it just like you did in your training, that's exactly what they did. And just an incredible. And here's a picture here. This is after. That's the mom on the left, dad on the right, and Deke in the middle there. But this is while they were waiting. They didn't know yet. The dog wasn't breathing. I mean, the dog hadn't shown any signs yet. And shortly thereafter, he did start to. You could see his diaphragm going in and out, and an occasional twitch on his ear. And then when it came time, I mentioned I mentioned that I put him in the Jeep, and when it came time to pick him up, Mike said, I have a hurt hand. I don't think I can pick him up. And I said, well, I'll pick him up. He said, well, watch out because he bites. And I'm like, I'm not even sure he's alive yet. I'm not worried about him biting, but this is the state that people are in, and Mike's like, well, he might bite you. And I said, well, I told his son, I said, you go to the biting end, I'll go to the butt. And I picked him up from the back. And but it's funny the way you think when you're in the middle of something like that. And I mean, the dog's not even breathing, let alone biting. But Mike was like, be careful, he might bite you. And it's just, I mean, that picture is just incredible. And like I said, I've not shared these pictures with anybody. In fact, Lori talked to this lady Melinda this morning because Lori's wanted to help orchestrate some things for them, and we have the most awesome neighborhood, but we have a nice Facebook community page, and there's been a lot of collaboration on the page and everything. And Lori is talking to some of the ladies about things to do for them, and we told them that they could use our place as a second sort of drop-off point for any items or whatever. Lori was out all day, like I mentioned, so there was a family that came. Laura, I haven't even had a chance to tell Lori this because she just walked in the door, but there was a family that came to the door, maybe 2 o'clock or so, and a man and a wife with 2 little kids, all, maybe 10 and under. And they had a bag, gift bag in their hands. And I said, oh, are you here for the wards? And they said, yeah, we saw that we could drop stuff off here. And I said, yeah, I'll be happy to get it to them and everything. And the kids, the little girl was probably 5, and they were so proud because they went with their mom and they shopped and put together this gift bag of some clothing for each of them based on the sizes and everything that was published on the neighborhood page. And so it was heartwarming to see that. And so I said, now what do I do? This is stuff they need immediately. What do I do with it now? And we're expecting more to drop off. But so I looked back on the Facebook page where Lori and I had been watching everything, and I saw the address of where they're staying. So and I drove around the corner. They're just, I don't know, maybe a mile away from here. And so I drove to the house, and the lady Melinda was home that Lori had talked to just a bit earlier. She says, "You're Lori's husband." I said, "Yeah." She says, "Well, I'm so grateful, and so are the wards that she's willing to help, and the outpouring has been incredible." And I told her, I said, this is from a family over in Seven Oaks, I think, and gave it to her, and we got chatting a little bit, and that's when she told me the dog's name, Deke. And then I learned about her son and the ward's son are both students at Georgia Southern. They roomed together at Georgia Southern. So that's how we got to talking about that. And I told her, of course, I had to tell her that our daughter Charlotte's a Georgia Southern grad. So anyway, I got to meet her, and she says, well, I talked to your wife. I've got your wife's number, and I'll be in touch with her. So anyway, it was absolutely crazy Friday. And it probably, our power flickered but never went out. Their house was destroyed. I mean, and we're 10 yards away from each other. And then, and the other goofy thing is it took the internet out in the neighborhood, and Comcast recognized it, and they were out troubleshooting. And they said, well, we found this and that, and the other. That they came by in a truck, and I'm like, hey, guys. And they said, well, we've got everybody's internet back on except yours. I'm like, well, I need it because that's how I make a living. And they said, well, we're going to check this splitter, this filter, blah, blah, blah. So it took them 10 minutes or so, and they had replaced a few things, and it was back up and running. But I'm like, first world problems, right? And the neighbor's house is burned down, and I'm just without internet. I should consider myself lucky, but anyway. if you look at their house from the outside, you would never know until you get close enough and you smell it. I mean, the smell, it's like a fire. But they say that the inside is just trash, with the smoke and the water damage mostly. Fire damage in the basement, smoke and water. Just I can't imagine. But anyway, that's my firefighter story. I have this whole new appreciation for them, and that's why this is the hat of the week. Now, so the hat of the week usually has something to do with what's going on. Well, I'm thinking, okay, what can I do to honor firefighters? And I couldn't find anything, but I found my thin blue line American flag hat, and that's close. And now I know I've got to get a thin red line American flag to honor firefighters, because those guys were flawless guys and gals. There were a couple young ladies out there too, holding their own. But to watch them, from start to finish was just an incredible thing. So that makes me even want to thank firefighters, more. It's crazy. Okay, Katie says they practice fire drills. That's a great idea. Boy, I tell you, it makes you reassess, okay, what would I do in the situation? Where would I go? What's the rally point? What if I can't go here? I mean, it makes you really think about, what you should do. What should I have in a safe? What should I have? Not that, valuables aren't important in that, but you get, if you can prevent some things, what can I do? But it's crazy for sure. Now they had fire alarm. Their fire alarm was chirping off for a while until the power went, and or the battery on it died or something. Anyway, I don't remember everything. It was just such a blur. But yeah, so those are the kind of things that it makes you want to make sure, okay, are my batteries, are, this and that, and do I have important, documents saved? Do I have, all those things? It makes you wonder, am I ready? Now, coincidentally, and I don't know what made me do this, but it was before this fire happened. But I went out to Lowe's the other day and got a couple of new fire extinguishers. I had one in the kitchen, I have one in the garage, and I'm like, well, I don't have one upstairs or in the basement. So I picked up a couple of fire extinguishers. So, something simple like that, to maybe that's something. But anyway, let's see. Okay, Daryl. Yeah, I'd love to hear that. I mean, these stories like this. I mean, there's so many, stories like this where you see heroism and you see sadness and But anyway, Daryl had a house fire. It sounds like back in '76. Yeah, Daryl, would love to hear that. Yep. Yeah. Well, and you have things from your loved ones, right? Maybe your parents are passed, or in our case, Zane, you had things that mean so much to you that were his. You knew he touched them, and well, it would be terrible if all that was gone, in the blink of an eye. Just to ponder that is just crazy. But anyway, that's my firefighter story, guys. And I tell you, it made me step back and say, okay, yeah, this is not the time to be an observer. I mean, people are often so afraid to jump into something, or they, but you need to be on the field of battle, not in the grandstands. I mean, if you want to make a difference, you need to do and not watch. And it's just, man, it's crazy. Whew. Okay, that's the first time I've told that whole story. I told Lori, but I don't know if I told her all of those details. But anyway, it was hard to work the rest of the day. In fact, well, one young lady that works for me, I said, hey, listen, you run this meeting for me. I'm not going to make it. I'll join you guys later. And anyway, we got through the day, and I had an interview to do with a young man later in the day, and things can't stop. And but anyway, they're all safe and down the street. And now once reality hits them, they've got a lot to do, and I'm sure there'll be folks over there, insurance and everybody tomorrow, and and we'll see. Now there's I mentioned the outpouring here in our community page. Melinda said that they're setting up they'll have their insurance and all that stuff, but they need stuff right now, right? They don't, I mean, so they're setting up, um, April has Venmo and all that stuff, but they're setting up something with their bank, right? Something that's a little more secure and formal and all that stuff. So I'm sure the neighborhood will step up. We have a lot of houses in this neighborhood, but man, when something happens and you need to rally a bunch of people, we've seen it a couple times now, and I know you guys probably have the same experience, but just really great to watch. Okay, well, let's move on here. We're getting. Let me see if I can get through the rest of Speaking of Zane. That was just a special edition. I won't charge you any extra for that story. But congratulations to our son-in-law, Will. Will is Abby's husband and the new father for Zane's kids, Colton and Paisley. And he's just the most awesome guy. And he's been in the Navy for 14 years, and he's a petty officer, E6. He works on the nuclear power plant. He's currently attached to the USS John F. Kennedy, the second one. This is a brand new one. It's commissioned because I went to the commission ceremony. He invited me, but it's not. There's a couple stages. It hasn't been launched yet, but it's been commissioned. But anyway, it's still in the works. He's something to do with the nuclear power plants. There's two of them on board. Anyway, he was selected, and I had to look this up. Shows you how Air Force I am. I had to look up when he announced that he had been selected to become an LDO, which stands for Limited Duty Officer. I'm like, okay, that's just another petty officer thing, but that's to be commissioned as a naval officer. That's the chief warrant officer equivalent in the other branches. So he's going to be commissioned sometime later this year after he goes through the school and everything. And that's a very technical, highly skilled people take that path the same way in the Army. And so that'd be a lot of fun watching him become a naval officer, and I'm excited for him. So congratulations, Will. Okay, well, let's see. What else have we got? Oh, man, I broke my weight loss stall. I was stalled for a little bit on 23 lost 23 pounds. And I started to incorporate some exercise, and I've been walking every day. And I'm happy to say that broke the stall, and I'm at 28 pounds lost now. 28 pounds lost. So my goal was to lose 30 pounds during this window of this challenge. We've got till April the 8th. And it looks like I will exceed my goal. And I've not had any trouble, not been tempted with sweets, carbs. I'm down to really 1.5 meals a day. I don't get hungry in between meals. I'm eating lots of meat and eggs, and you guys see all my posts, so you know what I'm eating. No sugar, no carbs, but so good stuff there. Having a lot of fun, feel a lot better. I didn't feel bad, but I feel I'm like I just don't feel bloated or inflamed or anything like that. Just feel really good, and keep exercising and see if I can lose those additional 2 pounds to get to 30, and then who knows from there. Kind of an old guy, so I'm not thinking I'm going to lose a whole lot, but 30 pounds would be cool. All right, well, let's see. Happy birthday to Gary Sinise. You guys hear us talking about Gary Sinise all the time. Lori and I got a chance to see him a couple years ago after a Braves game. And Gary Sinise, the Lieutenant Dan band. Remember Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump? That's Gary Sinise. And man, probably the top performer for the troops since Bob Hope. I mean, I can't think of another. I mean, this guy's committed to the military and veterans. And if you follow him and see the things that he does, it's just incredible. So happy birthday to Gary. I think he's 65 or 66, something like that. Holding up real well. Let's see. Okay, I already mentioned the hat of the week. Okay, what do we got for this week in military history? By the way, if you're joining us for the first time, and if there may be some people out there watching for the first time, or maybe watching the recording on YouTube, welcome. we don't always start out with a firefighter story. This is all about Veterans Matters and military affairs, and really prompted by the need that Lori and I felt to keep our son Zane's memory alive by speaking his name. Therefore, speaking of Zane. And we talk a lot about Zane and his shenanigans and his troubles and his life and his kids and all of that. And we, over the years, over the last 184 weeks, we have wound in other things to do with the military and veterans. So if you're joining for the first time and I didn't acknowledge you, it's because I can't see everybody that joins or watches. But if you post something in the chat, I can see that and acknowledge you. But if you are there and I don't see you, welcome. I'm glad that you are here every Sunday night at 8:30 Eastern right here on Facebook, on my Facebook page, on the Speaking of Zane Facebook group, and on my YouTube channel, Guy McDonald. You can watch Speaking of Zane. Okay, let's see. This week in military history, I had a couple of good items. Let's see. On March the 17th of 1776, that was the year that we gained our freedom from the British. On March 17th, British forces were forced to evacuate Boston. George Washington and crew pushed them out. Let's see, fast forward to something a little more current, March 20th, 1922. Speaking of the Navy, the former, okay, let me make this a trivia question because I know that Steve Shirley, Daryl, and Ken like to duke it out on these trivia questions, especially the military history related ones. All right, let's see, how can I put this in the form of a trivia question? There was a naval vessel in 1922 that was originally known as the USS Jupiter. This is 1922. What did the USS Jupiter end up being renamed? What was the name? And what were the circumstances that dictated that recommissioning? Cue the Jeopardy music. And those of you that are quick on Google will find it real quick. But some of the old guard, like Daryl, he has more up here than Google has. Daryl does. That was the former USS Jupiter became the USS something under a particular set of circumstances. That's this week's military history trivia question. We don't always have a trivia question, but that's, yes, Ken to the rescue. All right. Yeah. All right. So the USS Jupiter became the USS Langley, but why? What kind of vessel did the Langley become? Hence, prompting the renaming. I'm going to wait right here until you get it. There you go. Yeah, that was the U.S.'s first aircraft carrier. Yeah, Ken and Daryl usually duke it out here to see who comes in first. And maybe it's the internet, those packets through the internet. You never know who really won, but yeah, it became the aircraft carrier. And you know what the designation was? How about this, Ken? I never knew this until I saw this tidbit this week. But I knew the USS Langley was the first carrier, but I didn't realize this. But it makes perfect sense. It was called CV1. CV1. Incredible. All right. Good stuff. I spent a little more time on the Navy today than I'd expected to. All right. Well, then fast forward. Let's see. Well, not fast forward, but this coming week on the 25th is National Medal of Honor Day. On the 25th, 5 days from now, National Medal of Honor Day. Which brings me to another point. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but you know that there's a Medal of Honor Museum in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's right next to the aquarium. Lori and I just visited it last year. Well, there's a brand new, and I don't know if I don't know if it's different or if it's the same, but there's a Medal of Honor Museum, probably called the National Museum of the Medal of Honor if they go by the normal naming convention. But there's a new one that was just built and is about to have its grand opening in Washington, D.C. Now, I'm going to have to look and see because I don't know the details. I don't know the difference between the one in Tennessee and the one in D.C. I don't know. It seems weird. But anyway, there you go. There you go. Okay, well, let's get to our challenges here. For those that are joining us maybe for the first time, we do have some challenges that we they started out. Maybe they didn't start out that they would run forever, but they have. But we, Lori and I got so enamored with visiting veterans cemeteries that we couldn't stop ourselves, and it became something that we do. And you guys have joined us, and over the years, we have visited quite a number of them this week. So I have to ask you, Daryl, did you make 2 visits or 3 visits this week to Jefferson Barracks? I know you were there today. 2 or 3. I've got you down for 2, but maybe 3 might be right this week. I know you visited a couple of other seminaries. Pastor Daryl. No, cemeteries this week for kinfolk, but Daryl, Jefferson Barracks. Okay, got it. I got it right then. And Lori made it to Georgia National once and had planned on going back because when she got there, there's something about the flowers, Lori. They could. So she got there on the day they were picking flowers up or something, and so she had prepared to leave a new arrangement there. And I mean, she got to visit Zane, but she didn't get to leave the flower arrangement like she normally does. And then she had hoped to go back, and then of course her day got filled up today. But I'm sure she'll be there this coming week. So she made a visit, and I think that was it for the week. So 2 for Daryl, 1 for Lori. Made 3 visits for the week. We have made 583 visits. 583 visits from a relatively small group of patriots here. And then the next challenge that we've got, and I got some late entries this afternoon. Thank you guys for always posting those. This is the Thank a Vet Challenge. So we're in the business of thanking veterans, military members, law enforcement officers, first responders. I didn't even think to thank those guys. I mean, they were in the business. They're in the middle of doing their business. And the only thing I wanted to do is tell them what I knew, tell them no one was in there except a dog, and get out of their way. And that's exactly what I did. And so I didn't thank any of them, but I tell you, if I could, I would, because to watch them, have I mentioned, they executed flawlessly. And it was like, it's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, so let's see, let me read out what I have and you guys tell me if I've got it right. So Daryl met an Army vet. You guys have met a lot of Vietnam vets lately. Daryl met an Army Vietnam vet when he was out doing a little shopping at Menards. Remember the jingle for Menards? We don't have Menards down here. We've got Lowe's and Home Depot. Of course, Home Depot's headquartered here in Atlanta, but Menards, I remember the jingle from we lived in Omaha. Save big money at Menards. Yeah, some of those jingles you just can never get rid of. But save big money at Menards. I remember that. But Daryl met an Army vet there. Daryl does a great job. Katie does. Ken does. Aunt Paula does of not only saying that they met somebody, but chronicling the circumstances. Lori does. My dad does. Everybody does such a great job of telling the story, and I love it. It get a smile every time I see it. But Daryl there, and then Daryl again today was out at the store and met another Army Vietnam veteran, and it was. And the reason I mentioned that the story is visit the Facebook page and you'll read the stories there. Amazing. My dad got a late entry in today. Hey, Dad. He was with my sister down at Moody Air Force Base. Moody Air Force Base in Valdosta, Georgia, and they thanked the Air Force gate guard there. And then Aunt Paula got a couple of late entries in, an Army vet and a Navy vet. And let's see, somebody's putting in a late entry there as we speak. And who is that, by the way? It says Facebook user for me, but somebody says they're the Xfinity driver was in the Navy. So he must have had some cable work done at the house. So I'm going to add the Navy. Sometimes when you, depending on where you're watching, if you post, I only see like Facebook user. I don't see the name. I don't know why that is, but I'm going to put Navy and add that to the total, which I'm going to reveal here in a minute. Okay. Oh, hey, JT, there's my buddy Doc Collier up in Nashville. How are you? Getting the kids in bed. They're just getting back from Disney. Hope you had a really good time down there, Doc. And it looked like the kids did. And I know you're a kid at heart, so I'm sure you did too. I can't wait to see you, buddy, when we get to St. Louis for sure. We're opening up April the 4th. April the 4th. We're back to work. So, all right, let's see. Okay, that was Toby. Okay. Oh, the Xfinity NASCAR driver. Okay, Xfinity. Okay. All right, now it makes sense, Toby. All right, I got you. All right, I'm gonna put that here. Okay, got it. Okay, good stuff. All right, so the total Thank a Vet challenge. Oh, I didn't read everybody's yet. Hang on. Lori's got a high for the week. I thanked a retired Navy officer at Kroger yesterday. He saw I had one of my hats on, and he said, "Hey, thank you, man." And he stopped, and we started chatting. He says, "Yeah, I retired from the Navy," and he was about my age, and we had a really good chat. Just a great guy. I enjoyed meeting him. We had a really good chat there in the aisle at Kroger. So that was one for me. And then Aunt Paula, I mentioned Aunt Paula got a late entry in with an Army vet and a Navy vet. And you can always count on Aunt Paula having a thank you. And my dad. Okay, so Lori had probably an all-time personal best. I mentioned she was out with some of her friends for lunch on Friday, and they went to our favorite restaurant, Simplify Bar and Grill. Who, by the way, he's Ralph and his wife are franchising. They're looking for franchisees now, and they've got a new name that the restaurants are going to be called. They call them Rally Point. Rally Point. Anyway, stay tuned for more on that. But Lori was there at Simplify with her friends, and she thanked 12 Vietnam vets that were all gathered there together. Turns out they're there every Friday. They all meet there every Friday. Lori thanked 1 Air Force, 4 Marines, 7 Army. And fascinating story. Lori posted about it, but she went and thanked them all and everything and told them why. And then she'd mentioned something, and I said, well, that I think that group's there all the time. I said, Ralph calls them the Knights. And then Ralph piped in and said, yeah, they started meeting here. I don't know what it was, Lori. They've been meeting there for 4 or 5 years. And Ralph always set them at the round table. So they got the nickname, the Knights of the Round Table. And anyway, so Lori got to meet them, and that was fun. And then Lori thanked another, I guess it was today, Lori thanked an Army vet, and go read her story about that. Another good story about meeting a vet. I guess this Army vet was 60s and 70s, stationed in Germany, was talking to Lori about, watching the Germans, East Germans shoot the people trying to get to the West. And anyway, she said he was crying. Oh, it's crazy. Anyway, good report from Lori there. So if I add all of those up, I came up with 20 thank yous this week from the group. How about that? 20 thank yous. And that takes our total to 1,353 thank yous since we started doing this a couple of years ago. So how about that? How about that? Good stuff. I always get this guy at the Kroger said, man, I love bumping into vets every now and then. He said, just have a good conversation and stuff. So that was kind of fun. Okay, let's see. Nothing new to report on the organization's front. I saw that Kelly at My Warriors Place, they were down at Cool Today Park, where the Braves play their spring training, and raising they're the turns out that the Braves donate to My Warriors Place and have them involved in some things there to raise money. So that's kind of fun. And I saw Kelly had posted something about that. And let's see, that's about it for the organizations. But turns out there's a lot of organizations, most of them founded by vets out there that are doing good things for vets. And if you know of any, let me know and we'll talk about them. Okay, well, geez, here's the bad part where we always talk about anybody that we've lost. And unfortunately, we lost 4 Marines just the other day. And I think Ken was first to post about it on the Facebook group. But we lost 4 Marines, all on a crew members of a V-22 Osprey. You know, the V-22 is the tilt rotor aircraft that the Marines and some Air Force Special Forces units fly. And they were doing an exercise, a regular exercise the Marines have been doing in Norway for years now. Winter Resolve or something. There's some code name for it. I don't remember. But Arctic something, I don't know. But anyway, unfortunately, the Osprey crashed and the 4 crew members were killed. And I looked today, but I didn't see that they had released the names, and usually it takes a little while before they make sure everybody's notified and all of that. But next week we'll read their names out and honor them on Speaking of Zane. Okay, folks. Well, that's it. First time we've gone over an hour in a while, thanks to my firefighter story. But anyway, I'm so proud of firefighters. I have a whole new, and Katie, tell your brother that there's people that appreciate what they do, because it's critical. I mean, they're running into danger. We're all running away from it, and they're running into it. And it was an incredible thing to watch it firsthand, so close, like I said, just across the yard. The way that they flawlessly executed, it was like a ballet. Like I said, everybody knew exactly where they needed to be and what they were doing at any given time. They knew their relative position to each other. You could tell that it was just an orchestrated thing. There was nothing was accidental. And can you tell that I'm just blown away by watching that? How many people get a front row seat to start to finish? And that has forced me to have this new appreciation for them. And just an amazing thing. Terrible circumstance. And, please pray for the Wards, they're called. That's their last name. As they, can you imagine? This is a turning point in their life. I mean, where do you go? Where do you start? They'll bounce back. I mean, when we lost Zane, it was like, okay, how do you even go on? I mean, nothing else matters right now, but you figure it out, you do it, things have to be done, right? The same with them. They have jobs, they have kids, they have, they've got to find a new place to live. So I'm sure that, like us, we had a few days where it was just like stunned. And I imagine that's the mode that they're in right now. It's just totally stunned, and they're certainly grieving. I mean, can you imagine wondering? And they don't know yet what they've lost. I think they've made a couple of short excursions into the house, but I don't think they've been able to take inventory of what's left. And certainly most things probably are not salvageable or reusable. I hope that if they had some heirlooms or things like that they can get those. But anyway, we're just the neighbors. We'll do the best we can with the rest of the community to help them. And fortunately, the folks they're staying with had room. Like their boys are out of the house, at college, and so that opened up rooms for them to be able to stay. And it's just it worked out well there. But anyway, remember the Wards, and I'll give you periodic updates on them. But I forgot about that, Aunt Paula. Yeah, my Uncle Mike was a firefighter. Yeah, Yep. All right. Let's see. Oh, I bet, Katie. Yeah. Well, tell them there's people out here that appreciate them for sure, and wish you all the best there. Can you? It's a stressful thing. You know, one minute you're sitting there eating or reading, and the next minute you're in a burning structure. I mean, can you imagine? You turn on and off. I mean, that is incredible that people are willing to do that. But okay, folks, well, have a great week. Normal work week for me, I think. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody back here next Sunday night for another edition of Speaking of Zane. And hopefully I won't have any stories like that to tell next week. But appreciate all you guys joining, and we'll see you next Sunday night.